Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about a battle fought not with weapons or in headlines, but in silence. A battle fought every day by millions of women around the world, many of whom we will never know. A silent battle of a woman with no support. We live in a world that often praises strength, but forgets to ask what it costs. A woman walks into work every morning. She smiles, meets deadlines, holds teams together. But no one sees the tears she wipes in the bathroom. No one sees the weight she carries after losing a partner, raising children alone, battling anxiety, or being told time and time again that her voice isn't enough. We have taught women how to be strong, but we have not built a world that supports their strength. In my work, I often speak about leadership, trust, and the power of why. But what happens when a woman's why becomes survival? What happens when she's not driven by passion, but by the need to keep her family afloat? When she works 2 jobs, studies at night, and still finds time to encourage others while no one is encouraging her? There's a particular kind of pain that goes unnoticed. It doesn't scream, it doesn't break things, it doesn't draw attention. Instead, it hides behind smiles, behind responsibilities fulfilled, behind the phrase, "I'm fine." It's the pain of a woman fighting battles no one sees, simply because she has no one to fight them with. These silent struggles often go unspoken, not because they don't matter, but because the world hasn't made space to hear them. Imagine waking up every day knowing that no one is coming to help. No shoulder to lean on, no voice to validate your exhaustion, no safety net to catch you when you fall. And yet, despite all this, she gets up anyway. She prepares meals, rushes to work, helps her children with homework, checks in on her aging parents, and maybe, just maybe, gets a few minutes to herself at the end of a very long day. But in those moments of quiet when no one is watching, the weight settles back onto her chest. And still she carries on. It's easy to miss this kind of strength because it doesn't seek validation, it's not performative, it's not shared in inspirational Instagram posts or viral videos. It lives in the shadows, quietly doing what needs to be done, holding everyone else together while silently falling apart. These women are everywhere. They are your coworkers, your neighbors, your friends, your mothers, your sisters. You might talk to them every day and never know the full extent of their struggles simply because they've mastered the art of coping in silence. And that silence is often misinterpreted. The world might see her and think she's strong or she's got it all together, but what it fails to ask is at what cost? Just because someone is functioning doesn't mean they're not breaking inside. Strength is not the absence of struggle. In many cases, it's the disguise of it. These invisible struggles are made even heavier by the lack of support systems. Too often, when a woman reaches out, she is met with dismissal or judgment. Her pain is minimized. Her vulnerability is seen as weakness. Her emotions are seen as instability, and so she retreats further into herself, convinced that it's safer to stay quiet than to ask for help she may never receive. The result is isolation wrapped in responsibility, an overwhelming cocktail that no one should have to swallow alone. Our culture has conditioned women to endure, to multitask, to be everything to everyone, but we haven't given them permission to simply be human, to admit that they're tired, to cry without shame, to not have it all figured out. We've created a society that applauds their resilience, but rarely offers them relief. And while we celebrate women for being warriors, we forget that even warriors need rest, care, and support. Acknowledging these invisible battles is the first step toward real empathy. We must learn to look beyond what is presented and listen for what is unspoken. When a woman says she's fine, pause. Ask again. Create safe spaces for her to be honest. Offer support without waiting for a breakdown to occur, because by the time the pain becomes visible, it's already become unbearable. These silent struggles are not a mark of failure. They are a testament to quiet courage. But courage doesn't mean she should have to fight alone. It's time we start seeing the women who carry the weight of the world in silence, and more importantly, it's time we start helping them carry it. There's a common narrative we tell about strength. We say it's admirable, we say it's powerful, and we often celebrate it in women, especially those who seem to do it all, who rise again and again, no matter how many times they are knocked down. But what we rarely stop to consider is this: strength without support is not a superpower, it's a burden. And while we may applaud women for carrying it, the truth is it's not sustainable. Strength should not be a woman's only option, yet for so many, it's the only thing they've ever been allowed. They've been told to toughen up, to keep pushing, to not complain, to make it work. And so they do. They carry the emotional weight of a household, the logistical weight of a career, the social weight of expectations, and the invisible weight of everyone else's comfort, all while being told they're so strong, as if that's a compliment that pays bills or heals exhaustion. What society often fails to realize is that the constant demand for strength can become a trap. When people see a woman as capable and independent, they assume she doesn't need help. They stop offering, they stop checking in. Over time, her strength isolates her. The very thing people praise her for becomes the reason no one thinks to support her. It becomes a silent prison made of others' assumptions and her own internalized pressure to never let anyone see her falter. Strength in its truest form should not mean suffering in silence. It should not mean hiding fear, suppressing emotion, or burning out behind closed doors. True strength allows room for vulnerability. It recognizes that asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. But how can a woman ask for help in a world that sees her need as a flaw? How can she rest when everything around her rewards her for being constantly productive, constantly composed, constantly available? The issue is not that women are not strong enough, it's that they've been forced to be strong for too long, often without any infrastructure to support that strength. The systems around them, whether in the workplace, in family dynamics, or in culture at large, are not built with them in mind. They are expected to adapt, to fill the gaps, to balance what others drop, and then smile through it. And when they finally break from the pressure, the response is shock, confusion, even blame. But no one, no matter how strong, can pour from an empty cup forever. There comes a point when resilience turns into exhaustion, when coping becomes surviving, and surviving, no matter how noble, is not living. Women deserve more than just the label of strong. They deserve safety. They deserve support systems that don't require them to prove their worth or mask their pain. They deserve communities that step in before they collapse. We need to stop seeing strength as the end goal. It's not enough to say you're doing amazing while doing nothing to lighten the load. Real change begins when we shift from praising silent endurance to creating environments where women don't have to choose between strength and well-being, where strength is met with solidarity, not solitude. It's time we stop equating strength with silence and start recognizing that real strength is built on connection, rest, and the ability to lean on others. Because no matter how powerful someone seems, no one was meant to carry everything alone. And strength without support will eventually run out. Leadership is often portrayed as something loud, commanding, visible. We associate it with titles, charisma, and confidence. But real leadership isn't always in the spotlight. Sometimes it looks like quiet listening. Sometimes it's being the one who notices what others overlook, and more often than not, true leadership is rooted in empathy. In a world that moves fast, where success is measured by results and efficiency, it's easy to forget that the people behind those outcomes are human. They carry stories, struggles, and silent burdens, and nowhere is this more evident than in the lives of women, especially those who have no one to lean on. These are the individuals who show up every day, perform, lead households, manage teams, raise children, support others, and still feel unseen. They may never speak of their exhaustion, not because they don't want to, but because they don't believe they're allowed to. Because silence, for them, has become a survival strategy. This is where leadership truly matters. Not the kind that simply drives performance, but the kind that sees the person behind the role, the kind that pauses to ask, How are you really? And waits for the honest answer. Empathetic leadership doesn't require a big gesture. Often it's found in the small moments. Acknowledging someone's effort, giving space to breathe, offering help without waiting to be asked. It's about being human with other humans. Empathy at its core is the ability to connect with another person's emotional reality without trying to fix it, rush it, or judge it. It's understanding that someone might be fighting a battle you can't see. And when it comes to women who have been navigating life unsupported, whether emotionally, financially, or socially, that silent struggle often goes on the outside, but inside they are holding back floods. A true leader doesn't assume. A true leader doesn't say, she's doing fine, she's always strong. A true leader asks, listens, and adapts. It's easy to reward the loudest voice in the room, but sometimes the real wisdom lies in the quiet corners. The people who've been carrying the load without complaint, simply because no one ever gave them permission to set it down. When empathy is built into leadership, it changes everything. It makes teams stronger, relationships deeper, and communities more resilient. It creates cultures where people don't feel like they have to wear masks or armor just to make it through the day. And for women who are used to being the supporter, the caretaker, the reliable one, it can be life-changing to be seen and supported themselves. It's not enough to call someone resilient and leave them to fend for themselves. Leadership means stepping in. It means noticing the woman who's always early, always helping others, but seems tired lately. It means offering flexibility, creating psychological safety, and leading with compassion instead of command. Empathy does not weaken leadership. It strengthens it. It builds trust, fosters loyalty, and invites people to show up as their full selves. It's how we move from managing people to truly leading them. And it's how we begin to honor those who have silently led from the sidelines for far too long. So if we want to be real leaders in our workplaces, our homes, and our communities, we must learn to see the people who are quietly holding everything together. We must listen for what isn't said, because leadership isn't just about standing in front. Sometimes it's about kneeling beside someone and saying, you don't have to carry this alone. We are quick to applaud strength. We write tributes to it, post about it, admire it from a distance. We say things like, she's amazing, or I don't know how she does it, when we see a woman carrying what looks like the weight of the world on her shoulders. But the truth is, admiration is not enough. Recognition without action is hollow. What women need is not just applause for surviving. They need real, consistent, tangible support so they don't have to survive alone. Too often, we celebrate resilience without asking why it was necessary in the first place. Why did she have to be so strong? What were the circumstances that forced her to stretch herself so thin? What resources were missing? What help was never offered? It's easier to cheer someone on than to step in and shoulder the burden with them. But support isn't optional. And we need to stop pretending that praise can take the place of presence. Women, especially those facing life without emotional or structural support, are often placed in situations where they have no choice but to keep going. They raise children alone, work multiple jobs, care for family members, and sacrifice their own well-being, all while being told how inspiring they are. But inspiration doesn't pay bills. Compliments don't create childcare. A pat on the back doesn't make up for sleepless nights and endless responsibility. We must build systems that reflect the value we claim to see in women. That means creating workplaces where flexibility is real, not just promised in theory. It means designing policies that support single mothers, that make room for caregiving, that don't punish women for taking time to care for their mental health. It means creating communities where asking for help isn't seen as weakness, but as a natural human need. Support can look like many things. It can be a manager who understands that not every emergency is visible. It can be a friend who shows up with a meal without waiting to be asked. It can be a government that invests in accessible healthcare, childcare, and education. It can be partners and families who take on equal responsibility not as a favor, but as a shared duty. Support is not always grand. It is often quiet, consistent, and rooted in love. The danger of only offering applause is that it keeps people isolated. If we only admire strength, we never create space for softness. If we only recognize perseverance, we never encourage rest. And when a woman finally burns out or breaks down, we respond with surprise, as if she was somehow immune to being human, as if the strength we praised her for was supposed to make her invincible. But no one is invincible. Even the strongest among us need to exhale. Even the most composed women have moments where they want to fall apart, and they shouldn't have to wait until they're on the edge of collapse to be supported. It's time to move beyond admiration and toward action. Let us build cultures, institutions, and relationships that don't just notice strength, but nourish the people behind it. Let us normalize rest, recovery, and reaching out. Let us replace applause with advocacy and appreciation with tangible care, because strength might help someone endure, but support is what helps them truly live. We live in a world where it's easy to miss what isn't obvious. When someone is loud, we listen. When someone asks for help, we consider how to offer it. But what about the people who say nothing at all? What about the woman who seems to have it all under control, the one who rarely complains, never asks, and somehow manages everything? She may be quiet, but that doesn't mean she's not struggling. In fact, it's often the quiet ones who are fighting the hardest battles. And those battles are frequently fought alone, not because they want to be alone, but because somewhere along the way they stopped believing anyone would show up. This is where awareness begins, not in dramatic gestures or surface level kindness, but in learning to look beyond what's easy to see. It's noticing the tension in a smile, the hesitation in a yes, I'm fine, the exhaustion behind someone's eyes, even when they say everything is okay. It's recognizing that not everyone who needs help will ask for it, and not everyone who appears strong actually feels that way inside. For many women, particularly those who have gone unsupported, silence isn't peace, it's survival. Awareness means becoming more present, more attuned to the people around us. It means stepping outside our own assumptions and taking the time to truly see others, not just for what they do, but for what they carry. We often assume that if someone isn't visibly struggling, they must be doing well. But emotional pain, mental strain, and loneliness are rarely loud. They don't show up with warning signs. More often, they live in the background, behind routines and responsibilities, quietly eroding someone's spirit. And yet, awareness alone is not enough. Awareness without action becomes passive sympathy, well-meaning, but ultimately ineffective. If we stop at recognition, we leave people where we found them, seen perhaps, but still alone. To make a real difference, we have to move from intention to involvement. We must ask, what can I do? How can I help? What systems need to change? What conversations need to be had? What practical steps can I take to support someone who may not even know how to ask? This isn't about being a hero. It's about being human. It's about showing up. Sometimes that means offering to pick up a task or checking in consistently or simply being there without needing to fix, solve, or advise. Sometimes it means advocating in rooms where someone else's voice isn't being heard. Sometimes it means challenging the systems that leave women unsupported in the first place. Unequal pay, lack of parental leave, unaffordable childcare, and outdated ideas about who is responsible for what. Support doesn't always require grand gestures. In fact, it's often the smallest actions that matter most. A message that says, thinking of you. An offer to help with something practical. A non-judgmental space where someone can speak freely. These moments add up. They remind someone that they're not invisible, not forgotten, not alone. We all have a role to play, whether we are friends, partners, leaders, colleagues, or community members. We carry the power to make life a little less heavy for someone else. And when we do, we create ripple effects. A woman who feels supported is not just able to keep going, she's able to grow, to lead, to give back, to dream again. She moves from surviving to living And in doing so, she lifts others with her. We don't need more praise for resilience. We need more people who are willing to walk alongside those who have had to be resilient for far too long. We need more listening, more care, more policies that match our values, and more action rooted in empathy. Awareness is the first step, but responsibility is the next, and the two must go hand in hand. If we want a world where no woman has to fight her battles in silence, then we have to build that world, one choice, one gesture, one honest conversation at a time. Because when we take responsibility, we create something stronger than strength. We create connection. And in that connection, we all rise.